Hi everyone, my name is Joseph and welcome to Digimon Liberator, the comic, episode 7, part 2. As a quick reminder, the next part for Digimon Liberator, the comic, episode 8, part 1, will not be coming out until November 14th, so not this week, but the following week. And then for the novel portion, I'm pretty sure there is a specific date when it will be updating, but as of right now, I'm not 100% aware. I do believe it updates every 3 weeks or monthly, essentially, but hopefully by the time episode 8 has released, the novel portion will have also updated. Excuse me if I said some couple things weirdly or awkwardly, or my sentence structure was a bit weird or awkward right there at the last part. As always, I make these in the morning typically, so obviously I need some more caffeine in my system. Anywho, let's go ahead and discuss episode 7, part 2. So I'm not going to lie, as someone, if you guys recall from the last video, I was explaining how I feel like the narration, the story is finally going to start moving forward. Up to this point, we've been getting a lot of characterization, becoming introduced to different characters. And I would say I think I was a little bit right in that assessment. The story's still not completely moving forward, but we're starting to get some of the more mysterious characters being introduced, like, for example, Unchained and Close. So those are two character names, Unchained and Close. And Close we actually met before, we being the audience. If one were caused in the first episode of the comic portion, Shoto actually sees, Shoto actually sees someone, I believe she was either chasing or being chased by the rogue NPC. She was either chasing Terramon and Shumon or being chased by the rogue NPC, but Close goes, it looked like she was kind of floating by, but I need to reread or review that panel. She was probably just running on by, but quickly where Shoto just got a glimpse of her. As it turns out, so one aspect that I'm a little bit disappointed on, when I say disappointed, that is an overstatement. I'm not completely disappointed. My interest, or my intrigue rather, has just declined a little bit. But I was thinking that Close, before we knew her name, was going to be like some kind of rogue element of Lacuna, or some kind of just rogue element, an agent who's working on her own. To discover that she has a sister, so Unchained is her sister, I'm fine with that. I think that's quite interesting. But I was a little bit dismayed to find out that they're both working with the debugging team. So Unchained, she apparently works as a special consultant, while as her sister, Close, she apparently does special missions within the desert portion of Lacuna, while it's not really engaging in battles. Shoto even thinks to himself he doesn't really know why Close is part of the debugging team. But as we continue going forward, we'll see what details this will lead. Rather, we'll see what conclusions these details is going to lead to. And yeah, so I'm still a little bit curious about Cool Boy. I'm hoping he won't be a villain character, just because I feel like that'll be treading the ground a little bit too closely to Seekers with Professor Ruzenji, and also with other iterations of Digimon where the scientific / researcher academic character has turns out to be the villain, like in Savers, for example. I guess it hasn't been done too often. I'm trying to remember Tri. I don't believe Tri had a scientist or academic figure, but hopefully you guys know what I mean. Even if the Digimon has done it only twice with Seekers and with Savers, the fact that Savers was one of the last iterations of Digimon before the anime kind of took a hiatus or a break, and then Seekers was just literally the last iteration before Liberator came out. I just feel like it's just treading that ground too closely too soon. If they had waited after 2 iterations, maybe it will be a bit more. I wouldn't be feeling I wouldn't be feeling this way about the whole academic researcher professor type being the villain. Hopefully, or the researcher academic. Yeah, I already said. I don't know why I repeated myself. Excuse me. So everyone, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm still getting used to operating like videos and things like that for content beyond myself. So you'll probably just notice the ray of of light. I have something on top of where the camera's at to block that. I've never done that before, so I had to look more into that. But essentially, my computer's camera has a little umbrella, or maybe not an umbrella, one of those little hats. Not a typical hat, but the kind where it's like a circle and it's open on top. Anyways, I'm going on a tangent. So yeah, so it's interesting to see that Close and Unchained are part of the debugging team. I'm really hoping that, although they are part of it, we'll see where that has to go along, what connections it has to Cool Boy. And yeah, again, I want to reiterate, I'm hoping Cool Boy won't be some kind of antagonist or some kind of force that one has to overcome. But we'll see about that. In terms of Owen Dreadnought, so excuse me, I do wish, I guess this is my fault for taking a week break from Digimon Liberator, but correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is the first instance where it gets reviewed that Owen and Shoto, they have a personal history from the past. So one might probably think, well, after I just said I don't want the story to retrend what Seekers did, I'm probably going to say the same thing about the relationship between Shoto and Owen Dreadnought. I'm actually not, because one could argue this is a little bit similar to Leon and EG, similar to other Digimon iterations as well. At the top of my head, I can't really think of another example, but I guess like the original Tamers, how they all were living in the same community, but not to this extent where they met each other in the past and then they don't see each other for a long time and then reconnect. So although this is treading the path that Seekers did go on along with a little bit, the reason why I have a bit more patience with this is just because again, I am enjoying the characterization that Liberator is doing. Pardon me, everyone. I know I probably seem a bit distracted, making sure this is not gonna come off. Also, making sure it's not visible for you guys as well. I do thank you for your patience. Again, it's my first time doing this. I'll look more into it. Anywho, though, but yeah, oh great, now I did lose my train of thought. Just going back to the relationship. Correct me if I'm wrong, but although Seekers did do this, I don't mind that Liberator's doing this again, retreating the same path again because of the characterization. At first, I did think that Owen Dreadnought was going to be some kind of villain character just because of the way that they drew him, the way that he looks, not intimidating, but the way that he looks like he has a crayon up his arse, essentially. Excuse me for my language, but a crayon up his eye, and he's always seen me to be not willing to work as a team member. I did like his characterization in the episode 7 part 1, and I'm further starting to enjoy it as well with part 2. It gets revealed that apparently Shoto may have done a promise to Owen Dreadnought when they were younger, and I'm really looking forward to what that details of that promise is, and also why Owen and Shoto, why they started growing distantly apart from one another. And again, the reason why I'm not bored of this yet is just because usually the Digimon writers, they do a fine job of just making the relationships very fun to engage with. But yeah, and then besides for this, I think the writers are also doing a good job. So if one recalls, you may recall that I was saying that I was getting a little bit bored of the battles, the card fights, and yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to take a quick break last week, just because while I am enjoying this characterization, I was getting kind of tired of waiting for the main story to move forward, but also just getting a little bit bored of the battle mechanics as well. But they're doing a good job of making it still feel, if not fresh, at the very least engaging. The fact that I knew that at the end of the story, at the end of this episode, there was going to be another battle, of course, right? But the fact that it's 3v3, that really did pique my interest. And I'm looking forward to how that's going to play out. To be frank with everyone, I've always been a big fan of team battles, even with Pokemon. And Pokemon, when they did their first double battle, I was very giddy about that. And I do believe in Pokemon there are triple battles now, though I know that's not in every iteration. That was only one of the iterations. So correct me if I'm wrong about that. And then of course in Yu-Gi-Oh! When they did the first dual battle as well, I thought that was really cool. So to see this being done in Liberator 3v3, I was very much appreciative of that. And I don't think they've done a 2v2, so the fact that they went from 3v3, 1v1 to 3v3, I think, yeah, I'm just enjoying that a lot. If someone asks me why am I enjoying it, my only answer, as silly and as comical as it may seem, it's just the reason why I enjoy it so much is because I've always been a big fan of team-ups in any kind of capacity. If it's part of the main story, which is part of a small element of the story, like for example in Dungeons and Dragons, when the main cast teams up with the paladin character, but the paladin's only there for a short amount of scenes. That was a lot of fun. Really big examples, of course, like Avengers when they do their team-up movies, or Legend of Heroes for those who have played it, for Charles of Code Steel, when the past protagonist ends up making an appearance and they work with the new cast. That's always a lot of fun for me, just teamwork, people working together. Call me simple, I know, but that's why this 3v3, it really piqued my interest, and I love how close she seems to be appreciative of this assistance. I'm usually, especially, I don't mean to sound stereotypical, but usually like in Japanese properties, these characters who work on their own, these rogue agents, they usually don't like to be working in a community, and they usually have like snide remarks like, "Oh, you want to be working with me? Fine, I'll allow it this time, only because I don't want to waste any time," something like that. So I'm glad that Close was just very honest. And speaking of honesty, almost forgot to discuss this. I also love Shoto's not reaction, but his explanation to Owen Dreadnought when he tells him the only reason why he went into Liberator was because of him, and Dreadnought just tells him, "Oh, you're very honest." I like that a lot about Shoto's characterization and all, and I'm glad his honesty is still seeping through. Hopefully, he's always been honest when he was younger too, and we get more flashbacks of Shoto with Owen in the past. So, what a coincidence. With that being said, let me go ahead and look at the quote that I want to review with everyone. Not review, but just to share. And coincidentally, I actually have two quotes this time. So the first one is oh, so not this one. Let me do the other one. Good thing I read the beginning part first. So this part, to get some quick context, is at the beginning when Shoto and Owen are traveling through the desert, and then Tetramon says, "Shoto!" And the panel has a little D-Dog floating behind Shoto's head, and Shoto is glancing up at it. Shoto replies, "What? Hey, I heard what you two were talking about." And Tetramon looks quite cool. He's looking like he's flapping away from the D-Dog, but obviously he's coming out from the D-Dog because right now he's inside of it. The drawers did a good job of making it symbolically representative of Terramon actually coming out but speaking to the D-Dog. It's really cool. I like the panel. I think you two are actually really close. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Were you even listening to us talk? And this panel has Shoto pointing at Owen. And the little D-Dog just, again, Terramon's gone. It's just a D-Dog floating. And Shoto's pointing. He's blatantly avoiding me. That conversation was so awkward. There's a picture of a panel of Shoto, his face closed, little lines coming out from the top of his head. Really? And Terramon looks like a little bit exasperated, like, his eyes half closed, just his head. It seemed like he's really conscious of you. And there's two panels of Shoto and Owen Dreadnought, and they just look very badass, very cool. If you want to get along with him, I think you have plenty of chances to do so. What? I have no intention of getting along with. And then at this point, they get interrupted. Kokokoromon states, "Shoto, look." And yeah, so the reason why I like this panel is just because I think Terramon is correct. The fact that I was confused about that discussion about the promise that Owen Dreadnought brought up. And when it gets revealed that they were talking about the past, it's like, oh, okay, cool. But the fact that Owen is picking something up like that right now, I think that goes to show that Dreadnought did not forget about Shoto. It's a friendship that if he hasn't been reminiscing about, it's a friendship that again he still holds, if not dear. Excuse me, everyone. That was my cat. She tripped over. This is what I'm using to block the ray of light, so she almost fell. Again, thank you for your patience. Anyways, I was saying, the fact that Dreadnought's still thinking about Shoto either means that he misses this relationship or that he still thinks he had a deeper connection than Shoto realizes, and he's reminiscing. He still reminisces about this relationship. So yeah, I'm looking forward to discovering more about that. And I also love how Terramon seems to be very astute with his observations. He seems to be very emotionally intelligent. Again, I've said this before. He reminds me a little bit of Logomon, but to be frank, he reminds me more of a mature version of Logomon. Logomon with the words of wisdom without the bite. I guess pun intended in this instance, right? If you guys have read Seekers, you know what I'm referring to when I say bite. I mean that Logomon could, although he was very community focused, the way that he engaged with people, he very much did keep a hierarchy in mind. He was the top of that pack, and the people who worked with him, well, they were working beneath him, though, with him, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Again, that's my cat. She's just being a little menace. She's knocking things around now. She dropped my chapstick. Oh, my goodness. Anyways, so going to the other quote that I want to read. So this is occurring after the battle dome gets revealed. With that being said, I've never been in a team battle. This is not the time, and Shoto's just looking ahead, and there's little marks on the back of his head. And again, that was my cat. This is not the time to show weakness, rookie. And Terramon's looking happily at Shoto, while Shoto's at the back of Kokokoromon, excuse me. Terramon is right. And that's Owen. There's nothing for a newbie to get worked up about. Even if you lose, it won't be a problem as long as the other player and I win. And Shoto looks quite irate. He has that little classic manga, anime, TikTok symbol on his cheek. And even Terramon is looking quite pissed off. And there's a red line separating the two characters and an ARG, A-R-G-H. You're just here to fill out the roster. And now Terramon is really angry. He has a TikTok symbol on the side of his head as well. And he's like posed like, oh, with his talons facing up. I don't care if you're the number 2 player in the world. I'm not letting this slide. You have no right to make fun of Shoto. I told you. And Shoto looks exasperated as well. And it's a chibi picture of Shoto like, oh, finally you're listening to me. And Terramon inside his D-Dog with the box having a little angry brow with that TikTok symbol still present on the D-Doc. Like I said, he's an awful person. I take back what I said earlier. If he's going to be like this, you need to win this battle. And then Shoto nods and show him what you're made of. All right. It's time to take on the 3-on-3 battle. And Shoto looks quite determined, his hair covering his eyes. And yeah, the battle begins. Yeah, so the reason why I really like that panel is just because I think it's a good natural evolution from the previous one that I read, the previous passage. And I don't think Terramon's being serious as well when he says, I take back what I said. He's only taking back the part where he says, be more conscious. I think at this part, Terramon just wants Shoto to be more agentful, utilize his agency, and show Owen that Shoto's not someone to just sneeze at and to not pay attention to. That Shoto, he does have the chops when it comes to having to act or move forward. And essentially at this point, Terramon doesn't want to be patient and have to wait for Owen Dreadnought to realize this about Shoto, but rather now Terramon wants Shoto to demonstrate his capacity to be great via his battling skills and show Owen Dreadnought that Shoto is worth being paying attention to. So again, I think Terramon's still meaning what he said earlier, that there's a chance for them to become closer, but it's just that when he says, I take back what I said, he's out of patience. He wants the realization of who Shoto is to happen now rather than later. Hence the statement of, I'm going back a little bit. I take back what I said earlier. If it's going to be like this, you need to win this battle and show him what you're made up of. Yeah, so as always, I'll go ahead and read the last panels as I like to do. So let me go ahead and do that right now. I thought I already had a page with the last panel. Excuse me, everyone. I thank you for your patience. Alright, so follow me close, Dreadnought states, newbie. If you want to be more than a player who just fills out the roster, win this battle. Let's do this, Terramon, we've got a battle to win. Hell yeah, Terramon states, debugging, initiate. And this panel is really badass. We have Shoto on the right, Close in the middle, with Dreadnought on the left, and they're all looking ready to begin their battle. They show Shoto holding his D-Doc, and then it says to be continued. So I am looking forward to the next chapter. Next episode, excuse me. I'm also looking forward to the reveal about the history between Shoto and Owen Dreadnought. And I'm also looking forward to more of Terramon's little nuggets of wisdom as well. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys all have a prodigious day. And that ray of light. I thank you for your patience about that ray of light as well. And hopefully I figured out a way to get rid of that for you guys. Oh no, was I pushing down this as well? Hopefully the video didn't come out too horrendous. This might be one of my worst videos that I've done. And I have trash back there as well. Anywho, again, thank you for your patience. Hope you have a prodigious day and you have a better morning than I am so far. Take care, everyone. I don't want that to sound too negative. My morning's going okay.